The State of the Nation address was themed the year of O.R. Tambo. Oliver Reginald Tambo was born in the village of Kantila, Bizana, in the Mpondoland, Ekaukeni region of the Eastern Cape on the 27th October 1917 and died on the 23rd April 1993. He truly was a magnificent man. He stood and fought for what was right, and that is a thing that all young South Africans should know and keep in mind. As expression, we would like to know if the legacy of the late Oliver Tambo has significant popularity to the youth of South Africa.
What an outstanding man he was indeed. And with that, we want to say good evening, South Africa, and welcome to Expressions. And I know you know this by now because this is definitely the place where you air your views. Jacqueline Mapala.
Coming to you live now this Thursday evening, where Jackie now siyabuza ke ukuthi ngabe ubani ubaba Oliver Reginald Tambo sifuna nokwazi ke indima ayidlala in the freedom that abantu abasha are enjoying today. Well, namhlanje kusihlwa, we celebrate the legacy of the struggle icon, but we also ask, are young people upholding the values of O.R. Tambo?
Well, that's a very important question, and I hope we'll be able to answer it by the end of the show. And in memory of O.R. Tambo, who was born in the month of October, the month has been declared an O.R. Tambo month, and the year of 2017 is actually observed as the year of O.R. Tambo. In October 2006, the country's flagship airport was renamed O.R. Tambo International Airport as a tribute to him. But before we get into this discussion of how great this man was, Mkolisi had an opportunity to go to Soweto and hear what young people had to say about this issue. Take a look at this.
Expressions ifingelela yonke indawo. We go to the depths of the country, to wherever abantu abasha lapha bakhona sokwazi ukuthi sikhulumisane nabo. Namhlanje istop sisibeke khona la eSenowane Secondary School eSoweto lapho sobe sikhulumisana khona nabantu abasha ngobaba uOR Tambo. Sifuna ukwazi phela ukuthi what do they think about ubaba uOR Tambo? What do they know about ubaba uOR Tambo? But most importantly, sifuna ukwazi ukubona ukuthi who is O.R. Tambo?
Welcome to Senawane Secondary School. Here we are with the history class, grade 11. We are here to talk about this being O.R. Tambo's year.
O.R. Tambo was an anti-apartheid activist. We are part of the ANC.
As a very part of a struggle.
O.R. Tambo, we are from our country. We are in a foreign country.
Ubani O.R. Tambo?
We are a youth league and we are go exile.
What's the way going forward? Uksugala.
Let's take from the elderly people. Back then, when there was Nelson Mandela or Tambo, the parliament used to care about people most of the time, but now it's all about money.
Yeah, Kwamele likes to be united. Yeah.
Like you, this is landela my rights and that's why landela my responsibility wethu.
Masizameni uthina siqoqane ngokwethu senze isolutions ngokwethu.
Ake njengoba senizwele abantu abasha have differing opinions about ubaba O.R. Tambo, but they seem to find common ground ekutheni he was a struggle stalwart who really fought for what he believed in. See Expressions, we on your playgrounds, we at the taxi ranks, we everywhere, and today we were in your classrooms.
So some of the strong views coming from young people about this topic that we're going to be discussing this evening. But to help me really unpack this topic, I'm joined in studio by Natasha Ali, who is from the O.R. Tambo Foundation. And of course, I'm joined by Oliver Dixon. And you know I never do this by myself. In studio with me as well is my co-host, Mkolisi, who is going to be bringing you a lot of perspective from the social media corner. But let's get straight into the discussion. I mean, Natasha, it was kind of interesting there when some of the young people were asked who's O.R. Tambo, and they did not know who that particular individual is. I mean, as someone who represents the, you know, the foundation, what are you doing to make sure that that history, that legacy, that life that he lived is filtering down to young people?
Do you know, it's our biggest challenge that the legacy isn't passed on, but it's also pretty reflective of the person Oliver Tambo was. He was a very behind-the-scenes person. I mean, he made Mandela the face of apartheid so that he could be in the background doing all the hard work, you know, the dirty work, because Mandela was in jail and South Africa needed a face of the struggle. And while Oliver was mobilizing people, somebody needed to be on the forefront. For the foundation, every day we do work to, you know, increase youth development and things like that. But we're definitely in the background. We're also pretty new. But it is a saddening point that a lot more people, especially young people, don't know about him because it's an amazing legacy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very much a part of our fabric, a part of our history, but I think also a part of our identity as Black people in this country. And I want to bring Oliver into this discussion. I mean, you know, we are talking about the relevance of this legacy with regards to young people. I mean, so we know about, let's say we know about his life, we know about his legacy. How does that relate to the day-in challenges of young people who are unemployed, young people who are dealing with, you know, not being able to go to school because they just don't have the money? I mean, you know, where's the connection there?
I think O.R. Tambo played a crucial role, one, in entrenching the importance, for instance, about the Freedom Charter, just what that meant. At the heart of the Freedom Charter is equal access to opportunities, equal access to education, specifically free education, right? So the person who made that a relevant part of our political fabric ought to have, you know, ought to be celebrated in that light. So when we speak about free education, we do it in the name of Oliver Tambo. When we speak about equal access to opportunities, equal access to necessities like sanitation, we do it in the name of Oliver Tambo. Legacies aren't just legacies for the sake of legacies. They mean something, right? And one, it stands as a lighthouse for the direction in which we're running towards. It's, you know, we always have to begin with the end in mind, and the end was already described for us by individuals like O.R. Tambo, by individuals like Adelaide Tambo, and I think just staying true to that is important.
I mean, I read something quite interesting from Minister Jeff Radebe, and he was just describing O.R. Tambo. I mean, these are some of the words that he used. He says he epitomizes inclusive leadership, intellect, and high moral standards. Do you feel that we are reflecting this type of leadership, this caliber of leadership in society currently?
I think there are definite elements, and I think mostly it's coming from youth leadership. I think what Oliver did, especially because he was one of the founding members of the Youth League, was based on integrity and passion and commitment and selflessness. And I think, I don't want to comment on the situation currently, but I will say that for young people now, that seems to be where it's translated to, this dedication to a cause and a struggle that isn't necessarily based on race, but is on a unity that South Africa needs and currently doesn't have.
Can I speak to the situation right now? I think it's important. Let's not run away from it. Inclusive leadership means valuing democracy, valuing things like accountability. In South Africa today, we hold our soccer coaches to higher levels of accountability than we do our politicians. That's something that probably makes O.R. Tambo turn in his grave this day. So it's important to speak about that, to remind our leaders, one, where we come from, why we come from there, but where are we going and why we're going there. O.R. Tambo's leadership in the ANC, for instance, was important because it set the trajectory for our political future. I think we have steered away from our political future in many instances, and we need to often recall the people who set that direction for us and ask ourselves, why did they set the direction to bring us back on course?
Well, very strong comments there. I even had to like scratch my head a little bit there, Mobihedi. A lot of food for thought, but make sure you stay with us. You're watching Expressions.
It's been
You're still watching Expressions, your hashtag #1 Youth Current Affairs show. And I'm we're discussing the legacy of the great Ubaba O.R. Tambo. We are asking, are young people upholding the values of O.R. Tambo? And of course, I'm joined by like-minded young minds. Good evening and welcome to the show. Samgelisiwe Nokuma. It was great being at your school this week. But first, let me just check in with the social media comments. We look forward to hearing what you have to say to us. On our phone line, that's 011-714-8052. We're on Facebook as Expressions, as well as on Twitter as Expressions_10. Let's get this started. Now, Ulaki Uti, how can we uphold the values of O.R. Tambo when we were painted with a brush full of Mandela? We need to be taught about his legacy by the media, like they're doing with Mandela. Now, Abraham says the media is feeding young people with the wrong information. Again, young people have to unite and have to be active members of their respective societies. Now, how will one ask such a lame and irrelevant question whilst young people are jobless? I'm sure, Abraham, not everybody agrees with you because we felt that it was important that young people know about Ubaba O.R. Tambo. Now, Tolando says, Molweni guys, and we look forward to continuing the conversations with you there. Just go back to our Facebook page, and girls, let's get this conversation started. I was at your school this week, and Sabane Linkulumo Emnandi about Ubaba O.R. Tambo from you guys. What do you think about this conversation, Esinayo namhlanje? Do you think Utabanda Basha really care about history?
Okay, opinion yami nanzawuthi ukuba abantu abatsha abanandaba. Into yokuqala into abayenzayo abafuna ukuxhomana nehistory ukuthi bazi more about history okanye legacy ye-heroes zethu yaqona. Ngiphinde ndithi futhi abazi-respect izinto like izinto ezalelwa nga-O.R. Tambo bazeka nje izinto ezinjalo abazoyanga yaqonda. Yeah.
All right, uvumelana naye?
Yeah, ngithanda ukuvumelana naye.
You guys were debating the time in school in You guys were debating.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
Yes, ngithanda ukuvumelana naye.
Yeah.
Iyuthi yamanje ayisanandaba ukuthi kenzakalani, especially izinto zakudala. If they did, besazi ukuthi izinto zizo-celebrate-iwa kanjani. And we need to know history yakudala ukuthi siphuma kuphi kenzakaleni before. Of course, we do know ukuthi we don't care. The way we celebrate things, it's how we explain ngakhona. Yes.
Okay, and of course, let's just quickly catch in with some social media as well. Gugu says, we cannot uphold values of someone we are not taught about. I don't remember a single lesson on O.R. Tambo in history class, mainly because we never learnt about him. Do you guys share the same experiences? Do you guys learn about O.R. Tambo?
Okay. Not really. Yeah, not really. Abantu esifunda kakhulu ngabo like uNelson Mandela, maybe Hitler, yabo into enjalo. And futhi siyazibuza ba kutheni sizawuthetha ngabantu esingabaziyo kakhulu. Kutheni singathethi njengehistory yase South Africa ukuthi sivelaphi yaqona? Why sikule ndawo esikuyo? Kwenzeke ngeapartheid yaqona? Sifile le pain efilwa ngabazali bethu ukuthi why be angry so yabo? Yeah, meleke sazi ngayo. And futhi mina ngicinga ukuthi yazi meleke kuvumeleke ezikolweni zonke ukuthi wonke umntana makayenze history azazi ukuthi uvelaphi azazi ukuthi kuthene kule ndawo nje namhlanje.
Yeah, kuma nawo ngibona ukuthi Sam sorry uvumelana naye. Ngibonile ukuthi even when we had that conversation esikoleni senu, you guys alluded to the fact ukuthi mhlawumbe isyllabus ngangqono masingafaka izinto esifuna ukufunda ngazo njengabantu abasha ne. Ucabanga ukuthi what needs to be done?
Yes, okay. Angazi ukuthi izoyenzeka mara into engicabangayo we first have to know about us before sizowazi about abantu out of the country. So what I suggest is that isyllabus nje bilishintshe ayikabi mara melishintshe basifundise ngezinto ekumele ukuthi sizazi. I mean sizoyenzani ngabo Hitler nama Russians South Africa.
Okay, all right. Of course, let's just quickly check in our phone lines. Is Bamba Ugazi or se show sikbingele lesikwamukela.
Yebo njani
Siyaphila kunjani but?
Sikhona. Mina ngiyamazi ngoba ngimazi nje hayi kakhulu. Ngo1990 kase ngikhona. Kodwa i-youth exactly ayimazi kahle ngoba iyouth ngicabanga ukuthi kuzimazi kahle yazi zonke ukuthi haya kufanele bamfake esikoleni ey'koleni ezeze zokufunda like i-history ikhathi izomazi kahle iyouth ngoba abamazi kahle hle kakhulu.
Okay, and of course, these are some of the sentiments that were shared by Utishala when we were at your school, which is important ukuthi syllabus sethu si integrate isimo lesisikuso njengamanje, not necessarily kodwa sazi kabanzi futhi ngamaqhawe ethu ala eMzansi, right?
Yes.
So, okay, let's just quickly catch in as well with more Facebook comments. Usiyabonga Oti, a few understand who OR was because the curriculum is not taking them that direction. We actually need political education. That way they will know the values to be protected and the importance of democratizing South Africa. Mulemo says we should stop learning about other countries' history because there are many Mzansi heroes that we do not know about. Now, before we quickly go into the ad break, ladies, ngifuna ukwazi kini ukuthi njengabantu abasha, what do you guys think needs to be done in terms of ukwenza sure ukuthi history iba exciting? Ngoba abanye benu bathe history yabhora.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you think needs to be done? Siyenze ukuthi ibe mnandi.
Okay.
Yeah.
As ukuthi sikwazi history easy, ne? I don't know how to say this.
Yeah.
Mara, I think we should learn more and understand. Because I think ukuthi the way sifunda ngakhona is understand izinto. That's why si celebrate izinto ngendlela ezirong. So, Stella ukwazi history yaseMzansi South Africa, please.
Enye futhi ngithethe into kaSam. Like meleke si ibe more exciting like singagqibeli nje ngokuyifunda incwadi yeah, we should do more practical, sibukele videos, sazi ukuthi maybe senze i-drama nyano yaqona and thina abanye si understand more xa siyenza practical than ukuthi sifunde. Abanye sonqena ufunda actually thethe nyana sonqena ufunda but the minute siyenza yangena and then
girls, and of course I hope that we bring you more excitement on this conversation when we return. Stay with us.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, we are discussing the legacy of OR Tambo. Remember, our poll question this evening is we're asking you, Kochai, are young people upholding the values of OR Tambo? And I'm still with my guests, Natasha and Oliver. I mean, we obviously have to wrap it up, but I think some of the comments that came through from social media were quite interesting. But there was such a strong focus on the issue of curriculum. I mean, I loved the comment around how do we uphold values of someone that we don't even know? Is there work that you're doing as the foundation where you are either collaborating with the Department of Education just to ensure that this legacy just does not end up being obsolete or not being taught in our schools?
So we collaborated with the DBE this year to do an Oliver Tambo essay writing competition, and it was nationwide. And it was basically for this very reason, to force young people to research who he was and write essays about it. And it was in conjunction with the Albert Lutuli Living History Museum, because there is this gap in the curriculum. I completely get what these young people were saying, that how do you know who he is? Mandela was everywhere, and Hitler and the Russians, but it isn't South African focused. And there has to be a shift in the curriculum. There has to be a localization of history so that we don't have to go to schools and say, who is OR Tambo? There's a reason Africa's biggest and busiest airport is named after this man, you know? There's this gap that needs to be filled.
Oliver, what do you think the direct impact is on young people when they know about people like OR Tambo? I mean, it's all well and good to know about his legacy, but how does that translate into their lives in such a way that as a young person I can say, you know what, I see the benefit, I see the value, I see the reason why it is important for me to know about this kind of colossal.
Yeah, so I think very importantly, when we teach history, we need to be very cautious that we don't teach a distorted version of that history. And I think we often find situations where our own history gets distorted to us. The full truth and scope of apartheid, for instance, is not taught in its true sincerity in schools. And I think that can very easily happen here. So what then happens when you teach a true and sincere version of the history? You get young people who continue the incomplete revolution, because we need to be honest, our democratic revolution is incomplete. And the reality is, the history that we teach is that Nelson Mandela was this all-forgiving, all-loving person. OR Tambo was this all-forgiving, all-loving person that never saw racial injustices and just said, kumbaya, let's all hold hands, when that's not the reality. If they were to reflect on our reality today, they would say that our economy is still racially skewed. For instance, our education is still racially skewed. Our economy, our education system is still genderly skewed, right? And those observations can only be made when you're taught a true and sincere version of the history of the person. And history should encompass, one, what they stood for, how they pursued what they stand for, and through their lens, how would they view society today?
And moving forward, I think, Natasha, I would like to know, how do we move away from these events-based movements that we have and get to a point where this is part and parcel of who we are as a people? It's part of the fabric of our society. You know, it's not on this day, you know, we commemorate OR Tambo, but it is part and parcel of, like I'm saying, our identity.
I think, especially for the foundation, a lot of the work we have to do is we have a lot of dialogues, but dialogues need to be nationwide and at every, you know, in every corner of society, because dialogues translate into action, but only once you know what issues are and, you know, at the very heart of it. And then combining that with the values Oliver stood for, you know, humility and hard work and self-sacrifice and things like that, does that get translated into action? So I think that's the only way his legacy gets promulgated, honestly. And I think Oliver placed a huge emphasis on the power of youth. He always, I think because he was started the Youth League, we know he knew how much youth can do if you get involved, if you're willing to be committed and work really hard. I think that's what the foundation is doing. We don't want it to be this year because it's his centenary, or October because it's his month, or the 27th of October because it's his birthday. Every day there needs to be conversations backed on his values. And how do we achieve that? How do we live the Oliver Tambo way, to be really cheesy about it?
I mean, I hope that, you know, through the work that you're doing, that young people don't just see people like Oliver Tambo as, oh, he's such a great man, oh, but they see themselves reflected in that, because I think that's the importance of understanding who he was and what he stood for. The fact that as a black young person, you can look at him and say, this could be me. If I'm feeling powerless about the situation I'm in, I can do something about it because OR did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And it's important. I think Natasha's absolutely right to focus, to bring into focus, OR Tambo believed in the strength of youth, right? 65% of South Africa today is under the age of 35. That means 65% of South Africa is youth. In the next election we'll have in 2019, 80% of our electorate will be under the age of 35. It means 80% of the people who choose our leader will be young people.
So young
and if you don't put young people at the forefront, you're missing the opportunity.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, I mean, but I think we definitely understand the fact that young people are right at the center of changing this country and changing the trajectory of where this country is going. But thank you so much for coming to the show. Oliver and Natasha, thank you so much. And we just applaud you with the good work that you're currently doing.
And it's always great to have Abantu Abasha have these serious conversations. I mean, even on social media, Jackie, they're saying and they're thanking Expressions for bringing this conversation down to their level. Sibonge kakhulu kuwe nawe lapha ekhaya for joining us. And of course, we play you off with a 3-month cup this evening. Cutting Edge is up next. Do have a spectacular evening going forward. Take care.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
A champion you are.
Yeah. This one's for the champions.
A champion you are. I am a champion.
So for all the champions in the world, all races.
You are. I am a champion.
We all champions.
A champion.
Yeah. You lose, you win some.
And if I lose, I win, but I take punches and throw some. When I do my thing like Mike Tyson or Mayweather, and I choose my team, right? Do I fight one of my G's? Never, cause my dudes are real ones. Look, I am a soldier, and I am at war now. My niggas are on one, fake, that's something I don't like. I dream big and I chase that shit, still bringing my day one with speed heat and I flame that beat. They still beefing, I hate that thing. And I hate that thing. He is screaming, I hate my beat. Please listen, I'm great like this. I dig deep and I grave that shit. I am a pony, yes, and I'm gonna do this, man. And I'm gonna remain a champion. I ain't gonna lose to them.
This game I've been at it for years. I ain't making much money, but I still don't care. As long as I'm reaching to my people out there, I ain't worried about nothing. I'm a grind all day.
Everybody say.
So I am a champion, a champion, a champion.
Yeah.
I am a champion, a champion, a champion.
Yeah.
Feeling, Mr. Ring, I'm on the mission and I'm willing. 30-12 gauge, you're going to killing fun as sense. Nanda nanga manzanga ngeningi cause life is supila when nowadays I want a meaning but I'm leaning boy over jenge code in is drinking when I'm bleeding yazibopa izilonda like a clinic na center